Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a new video. So we're actually going to be working on the F-150 in this video. I'm going to explain as to what the issue is that I'm having, go into a little bit more detail, explain things as to what it is, and then we'll finally get onto the fix. I want to go over everything in detail so people can watch this video, get all the information that they possibly need, and how to fix it. So I purchased my F-150 about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years, and bought it completely stock. I got it with 58,000 miles on it. I have about 78 right now, so roughly 20,000 miles or so in 2 years. In the first month or so of me owning the F-150, I noticed there was a sound coming from the driver front hub. Every once in a while, I would hear kind of a marble in a can grinding noise. It didn't happen very often, but it caught me off guard the first time. It kind of took my breath away, and I was like, oh my God, what is happening? Is my wheel falling off? So knowing me, I went to the internet, I went to the forums and started looking things up, and I came to the conclusion that that noise was probably the IWE. However, 2 years ago, I maybe heard it 2 to 3 times at most, and then I switched over to new wheels and tires, and ever since then, I never heard the noise again. So the information that I taught myself from the forums about what the IWE is, I kind of put it on the back burner since I never heard the noise again, and then suddenly, 2 years later, after my 2-year ownership anniversary, I started hearing the noise again. So I heard the noise again and I was like, all right, I'm going back to the forums. Let me research this a little bit more and see what is going on. So after doing minimal research and realized how much of a common problem this is and how many people actually have this issue, I realized that the noise that was happening was from the IWE. I'm going to go into detail as to what an IWE is in a second. Now, I only heard this noise while the truck was in 4x2, which is just the rear wheel drive. The front wheels were spinning freely. So that is when the noise was apparent. Once I turned it into 4x4, the noise would go completely away. So knowing that, again, I went to the internet, looked on the forums, and I found out what the problem may be. So what is an IWE? An IWE is part of the F-150's 4x4 system. So what that actually is, it's a gear set on the front hubs, and that's actually what engages 4x4 mode. So when you're actually driving in 4x2, the whole entire IWE system uses a vacuum system in order to pull those gear sets away from the front hub, and it allows the front wheels to spin freely. And when you turn it into 4x4 mode, those gear sets cut the vacuum and they attach to the front hubs, and now the front differential actually drives the front wheels, so you are in full 4x4 mode. So this can happen whether you have 200,000 miles or it can happen when you have 100 miles. I've seen people have this issue on brand new F-150s or F-150s that are many, many miles old and many years old. It can vary. However, it is a very common problem. And what actually happens in the IWE system, again, as I mentioned, it works on a vacuum system. So potentially if there is a leak in that IWE system in the vacuum lines, that actually halfway engages the IWE, and it's not fully grabbing the teeth, and it creates that grinding noise. So in order to get this resolved, the best way that I like to kind of go about fixing things is to start with the cheapest option first. I don't like just throwing money at parts and just saying, you know, maybe this will fix it. I like to try to start with the simplest fix. So besides actually replacing the full IWE, you can actually replace very, very simple parts. There's actually 3 of them. One is the actual solenoid that actually engages the vacuum on or off. Then there's an actual check valve, which actually pulls the air in and out. And then there's the actual vacuum lines. All 3 of those parts can actually create a leak. They can split, they can get old and not function properly. We're going to be replacing the solenoid, the check valve, as well as the lines that are running from the solenoid. Those 3 things are known to fail. The solenoid has actually been known to get wet and can cause the solenoid to fail. The check valve can crack, or there can be something in it causing the vacuum leak, or it can cause, you know, not enough suction to be able to pull the IWE away from the hub, or there could be an actual leak or split in one of the lines. So replacing all 3 of those is a very, very simple fix. It literally takes probably 2 to 3 minutes to do. This can potentially save you multiple hundreds of dollars to possibly thousands of dollars, depending on what you actually get replaced from the dealer. Doing it yourself, this cost me around 35 bucks, and these are all OEM Ford parts. I bought them from a Ford dealer, so they're all coming in. So we're gonna be using genuine Ford parts to get this resolved. Now, as I mentioned, we're going to start off with the solenoid, the check valve, as well as the vacuum line. We're going to see if that fixes it. If it doesn't, we're going to go and fully replace the IWE on the driver's side. It's not too expensive to do. It's about $100 to $120 depending on where you buy it, replacing the actual IWE. There are cheaper options that you can get from Amazon, but for me, I'd much rather use an OEM part, despite it being kind of a fail point on this truck, and maybe an aftermarket may be a better solution, but sticking with OEM Ford parts just because that's the way that I am. But either way, it's not that expensive to fix on your own. However, going to a dealer, you're going to be paying for labor and you never know what they're going to do. However, replacing it on your own is not hard. It just takes some time because you got to remove a lot of pieces, a lot of parts to get to it. It's actually on the back of the hub on the front wheels. You need to drop the control arm, the tie rods. You actually need to remove the axle from the actual hub. So it may be a little bit intimidating to some people, but honestly, it's really not that bad. It's only a couple bolts. So if you're looking to save a lot of money, I definitely recommend doing it yourself. However, we're not there yet. As I mentioned, we're going to start with the cheapest option first, see if that fixes it, and then we'll go from there. All right, so now that you understand what an IWE is, what the potential problem can be, let me show you the parts. Let's go over exactly what needs to be replaced, and let's see if this fixes it. I really hope so, because I do not feel like replacing the IWE. All right, so here are the two parts that you need to get this done. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this took over 2 weeks to get to me. I ordered them from a dealership. I got expedited shipping, which was supposed to be here in 2 to 3 days. And then it got rerouted and it ended up taking 2 weeks to get here. So a little frustrating with the company that I chose to purchase this from. I'm currently talking to them. Hopefully I get my money back for the extra shipping costs that I paid for. But either way, the parts are here. So this part number right here is for the actual check valve and the line. So you can see the check valve there. And there is the line that we're going to be replacing. And then this is the part number for the solenoid that we're actually going to be replacing. Not sure which one, has failed. We'll find out. It may not even fix it, but I'm hoping it does. It's a very, very straightforward, pretty simple fix. I'm going to show you how to do that. What I'm going to do is actually pull the Telluride out and bring the truck in here, and then I can show you where we're working and how to get this done. So we got Big Bertha here in the garage, and this is where we're going to be working. Now, this is the driver's side, as you can tell, and everything is located literally right here by the brake booster, by the reservoir right here. So if we take a little bit closer look, that right here is the solenoid, and this is the line that we're replacing. So it's very easy, very accessible. Now, I am running the engine dual intake here, so it's going to be a little bit more things in the way than you would normally have if you're running a stock intake or something else, because the little air box that this is included with, it wraps around here, and it's not necessarily in the way, but it's a little bit more in the way than it would be if you had a different air box or stock. But we can access everything, so we're going to be removing it from here, pulling it off of this line. This is the solenoid. Here is the little plug that we're going to be removing. Now, a quick little tip, this little plastic clip on top here, a lot of people pull that up and they always end up breaking them. So I've heard the best way to do it is actually pull these clips to the side. Don't pull them up, pull them out, and they won't break. Let's hope. They tend to get brittle. They are plastic, but hopefully we won't crack them. So what I'm going to first do is actually remove the solenoid, get it unplugged, and then we can get the lines out of the way. All right, so we got the solenoid removed, we got the plug removed. As you saw, I was able to move the little clips out of the way very easily, just pull them to the side, not up. But now you just want to take some note of where the lines are going. So there's two different hoses connecting to the solenoid. So if you look on the solenoid, the main line right here is actually connected to the bottom of the solenoid. So we're going to pull that off. Now you may hear the air releasing a little bit. That's because the system is pressurized. I'm going to go ahead and pull this off. So as you hear, there was a vacuum that I pulled that off. We're going to put that aside. It's also connected right here. So we're going to pull that off as well. like that. Connects to that little hose right there, that little connection. And then also right here, we're simply just going to pull this out, kind of twist it a little bit like that. And now we got this whole line removed. And now what I got to do is remove this last line on the solenoid, which is the kind of braided line that goes on the top of the solenoid here. That one goes down to the actual IWE. And we got the solenoid removed. So here is the solenoid as well as the line that we just removed. So we can put that aside. We can go ahead and open this stuff up. I'm going to leave links below for both of these if you guys are looking to do this exact same thing. So there's no confusion of where to get it and which part numbers and everything. So there we go. We got the nice brand new OEM Ford solenoid. Now we're going to open up the line right here. Now, if you do notice, this is the new one. This is the old one. The part numbers are different. Well, it's actually exactly the same, but the last part of it, the new one is AD. The old one is AC. Exact same thing. Just want to make note. Also, the check valve is a different color on the new one. So I believe this is the updated version as opposed to the older version that is black. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. But the solenoid looks exactly the same. Same markings, obviously, because it's by Ford. Let's go ahead and throw this on the truck. All right, so as you can see, we got everything in place. The new check valve popped right into this line. We hook this in and the two on the bottom. So this line, the new one that we just replaced, goes on the bottom of the solenoid, and then the braided line, this one, goes on the top of the solenoid. Slip it from underneath up into the clip area, and then you're gonna plug the harness back in and you'll be good to go. So let's go ahead, let's go out for a little bit of a test drive and see if this fixed it. I really hope so. All right, guys, so I've been out driving, just trying different scenarios to see if I can replicate the noise and try to make it happen again. And we are back in business. Thankfully, everything is back to normal. I can drive back in two-wheel drive. I don't have to worry about driving around in 4x4, and I can go on my merry way. So if you guys are hearing a strange noise from either hub or both, it sounds like marbles in a can. Doesn't sound very good. Just sounds like lots of grinding. It's intermittent. It's happening every so often, and you can modulate it. So if you're hearing it, you can let off the throttle and then go again, and it's back to normal. That is your IWE, either your check valve, your line, or your solenoid going out. Also, make sure you go ahead and check the lines as well that's running down to the IWE. So there's one running from the solenoid up here straight down, and then one across the frame in front to go to the passenger side. So make sure you check those to see if there's any cracks in the lines or anything, because those can crack as well. Thankfully for me, that was the issue and it seemed to resolve it. Now, keep in mind, if you're still having the issue after you replace those things, you're gonna have to replace the IWE. One thing to note is that the actual IWE has a rubber diaphragm on it. So that's what actually holds the suction. So that can crack as well, cause a leak. So if you're still having the problem after replacing those three things, you're still gonna have to replace the IWE. Again, it's not a hard job. It's just time consuming because you gotta get to it, which is directly behind the hub of the wheel. So it's one of those things you just gotta remove a lot to get to it. But it's only around 100 to 120 bucks, just for the parts. If you're paying a shop to do it or you're doing it yourself, that's up to you and how much money you want to save. But expect to pay, anywhere from 500 to 600 bucks, possibly more, depending on what dealership you go to or what shop. But I would personally be doing it myself if it came down to that. But thankfully, replacing the solenoid, the check valve, as well as the line up top there, resolved the issue for me. So thankfully, we can move on and enjoy the truck even more. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. I hope that helped. If you have any questions at all, be sure to ask them below. But in the meantime, keep it clean, keep it simple, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.